Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the Real Estate Lab. We are excited to have you here today. Man, today is going to be a really exciting topic, and we're going to talk about growth in Austin, Texas. I know you've heard it. I know you've seen articles on it. You've seen videos on it. And so today that's going to be our focus. We have an incredible guest. We're going to go around the room and introduce ourselves first real quick. So why don't we start with Miss Liberty.
Hello and happy Friday, Ian. Thank you for that. And I'm super excited to talk about today's topic about growth in Austin, because if you live here, you're definitely experiencing it. And if you're moving here, you might want to know how it's going to impact you and where you might go.
JJ.
Right on. I'm JJ Tolentino, realtor with the Next Level Property Group at KW Realty. Very excited to talk about this because, as you know, Austin is growing super quick. So what does it mean to go out with the old and in with the new, or if that holds true? And we'll pass it on to our guest, Desiree.
Hi, everybody. I am Desiree Gutierrez. I am a real estate agent with Compass, and I am on the Lindsay Nguyen Group. So I'm here happy to meet everybody else, and let's talk growth.
I love it. And I go by Ian of Austin everywhere on the internet. I am with Real Broker. And don't forget, if you are interested in this episode or any of our episodes, you can catch us on Spotify, Amazon, Google, all that sort of stuff. But let's just jump right into it. So I was excited to have Desiree on this podcast. We were chatting about just, like I said, Austin growth. Desiree has been here for a good amount of time. She kind of like embodies Austin. She's been here for how long, Desiree?
21 years.
And let's talk about some of the changes. And this is for everybody. Open up the discussion after that. Some of the changes that you've seen along the way.
Along the way from 21 years ago?
Yeah. And moving into where you see it's going to go. I know it's a lot. I mean, just keep it short,
Okay. Yeah. I mean, 21 years ago, college town, right?
Yeah.
Everything was college town. So, smaller all around, downtown Austin and scattered homes, as we are now in a city growing at 50+% appreciation. I mean, we're connecting already, going to be connecting to San Antonio in the next 5 years, right? So
I want everybody to listen to that.
Antonio,
We are going to be connecting. I love that statement. Statement. You guys agree with that?
I totally agree. And I couldn't be happier because I love San Antonio. Yes, I do. Bring it on. The sooner the better.
Right.
JJ, you think so?
I mean, when I'm in Houston, I drive around for an hour sometimes. So if you drive south of Austin for an hour, you're in San Antonio. There's that blend there.
Is your car moving when you're in Houston, or are you in back-to-back?
That's the right question.
I mean, it's an hour in the car.
Okay.
We've heard these terms. So like when you said connecting to San Antonio, immediately my mind went to I think it's a megapolis or some kind of like extra large hybrid city, right? Mm-hmm. And if you look at Austin, if you look at the map, we're in the center, and then you have Dallas, you have San Antonio, you have Houston, you have Waco, you have all these places that are surrounding Austin. And so, yeah, Austin's growth is poised to be pretty incredible. And that's why we have all these articles that are talking about the growth, like the boomtown thing. You heard of that, right? Everybody's heard that?
Boom. Yep.
Yeah.
We know who said it, who might also be causing the pull in.
Who is
Talk
this?
about Elon Musk, by the way.
We are talking about him. So when you're looking at Austin, what was Austin known for when you moved here? And this is everybody, right?
I mean, it's a festival town. Oh, sorry.
No, go. Yeah.
I mean, for me, I think of festival town. I think of small venues and kind of honky tonks. And I mean, my mom was here in the 70s, so I kind of get her insight a little bit.
I don't even know what a honky tonk is. Why don't you help me understand?
Ian, get out of this
I'm just kidding. No, I'm just messing with you. I'm messing.
Come on, the Broken Spoke.
Yeah. No. That's still around, right? It hasn't closed, has it?
I mean, Mick Jagger was just at the Broken Spoke.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So speaking of,
I think a Broken Spoke, right?
So speaking of, we were talking about that not long ago. We were talking about things that are coming, like that are opening back up ever since the CV took place, and Austin kind of reimagining its roots. So let's talk about that a little bit. Whoever would like to start.
Reimagining its roots. What do you mean by that?
Like, Austin was known, like Liberty said, honky tonk. It had this soul, this music, this art vibe. and then it kind of died a little bit, but it died everywhere, right? It died in Nashville, it died in Austin, it died everywhere
Did
for
it
a little
die?
while because
Due to the pandemic, there was a pin in it.
that's what I mean. And then there's
Yeah.
also, we have all these people migrating here, and people are like, oh, it's not the same Austin. Like, you've been here long enough,
It's not the
right?
same
All of us
world.
have been here long enough to experience kind of that shift. And so the question becomes, what are we shifting to? Is Austin going to regain that soul? What is the art going to be like? What is the music going to be like? That's the kind of stuff that people want to know. What is it growing into?
Yeah.
What is it growing into? Well, I mean, I guess like you and I spoke about earlier, right? When you look at it in a macro level, yeah, that's a really, really important question. And so do we know what it's going to grow into? When I ask myself that, I'm like, no, I don't know exactly what it's growing, period. But I do know that I want to be a part of that growth, right? So if I want soul, I'm going to go support soul out there. If I want more DJ music, I'm going to go support more DJs, right? If I want rock and roll, and that's like right now where Austin is, I like to call it like it's a teenager, right? Like it's developing itself. And so
awkward stage.
It's an adolescent. It's just hitting puberty.
How am I going to grow? How tall am I going to get?
Yeah.
No.
Oh my God, does she like me? Yeah.
It totally is, right? Like
I love that. Yes.
It's a teenager stage. And so it's like, what do you want it to grow into? Then we have this beautiful place right now that we as a city can come and actually support and create what it will be, right? So what is it going to turn into?
There's an underlining theme here. And Alonzo Perez, buddy of mine too, I like talking to him because he wrote, I enjoy connecting back in East Austin. And I love hearing, I don't even know what Aquafest is, but he tells these stories about East Austin in the 90s. And, he's like an 80s kid or whatever. But the underlining theme is there's more money coming into here, right? This is an expensive city all of a sudden.
Also, if you look at if you are going to compare to like maybe a city like Houston or Dallas or even New York, like I feel like Austin, we still have so much natural green space too. So I feel like even if for some reason the culture takes a while to really like explode here and we are able to support and cultivate that, there's still a lot to do in the meantime.
When I was in Hawaii earlier this year, they were explaining the differences between the islands. It was my first time there, right? And they were like, well, this island is all kind of like jungles and lush and green. And then this island is the concrete jungle. And I feel like Houston and Dallas are the concrete jungles, and Austin, we were lush and green and we're starting to merge, and we're kind of like one of those islands in between. I don't want it to become a concrete jungle personally.
Well, I think with all those arborists and tree restrictions, I think we're going to be okay for a while, at least with our heritage trees.
What the heck is Aquafest? Someone who's been here longer than me. What's that?
It's
Only
probably
Travis.
a festival.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
in like Devil's Cove or something, or like what is it?
JJ?
I just Wikipedia'd it. Was a 10-day festival held in the first week of August on the shores of Town Lake, now Lady Bird Lake.
Fun fact,
festival. Was it like music or? That sounds really cool.
There's
but everybody with boats though.
Oh yeah.
So, but it was on the shore, so that means anybody could attend. So you had people with boats, and then you had people on the shore, and it was just kind of like a big party.
Well, let's bring that back. I'm on
Bird
board.
There is one in Lake Travis that's very similar. I mean, that's like full on 3-day party.
Man, that's so crazy. Liberty, you were even talking about some new things coming back to the area, right?
Yeah, I mean, when we were talking about, because there was a point when I was thinking to myself, will there be art openings again? Will we be going back to the galleries? And this weekend, I got 2 invites, one at Collab Projects and one at Mass Gallery on the East Side.
So explain this. What is this?
Yeah, I mean, explain it to me. You got to go figure it out, Ian.
Oh, I guess that's the point. So it's an art exhibit, right?
It's an art exhibit. There's art.
That's so
cool. There's indoor, outdoor, go mingle. It's from 12 to 6.
Okay.
And if you're not comfortable mingling quite yet, you can also call and have a private appointment and a private showing of this. So I feel very confident that the artists, if anything, they've been staying at home making art and are just now ready to show it to the world. So let's go see it.
Exactly.
So what's your thoughts?
I'm with you, Liberty, on that.
I can't help but think about just the fact that prices, right? You're talking about your Houston and Dallas. You know what the median price points are in the Houston and Dallas Fort Worth areas?
No, tell us, spit it out.
They're like in the 300s. We're approaching 600. We are a different city all of a sudden, right? Because we used to kind of
They're also so much larger.
Like 5 times the size,
and
right?
we have exactly like Ian works in Bastrop. He's not just one, right? But he's very, very well known there. He has homes there closing at 525.
Right.
550.
And I'm not debating that, whether they're bigger or smaller. That Austin brand is, I mean, would you say it's expensive?
I mean, it's getting expensive if you want to live inside that like loop 183 71 inside that circle.
They called it the Dallas Fort Worth Metro. Like, we're not Austin San Antonio Metro yet. That's when we could get back.
That's the key word is the metro. When someone calls and they're like, hey, I want to move to Austin, I'm like, yeah, but where? Right? That's like the whole Texas saying, I want a Coke. Yeah, but what kind? Right? Like, you're not just moving to Austin. You might be moving to Austin, but you also might be saying Austin and meaning a suburb. Like when you say Dallas, it's probably going to be in Dallas or really close, right? Because otherwise they're going to say, no, I want to live in Frisco. If they say San Antonio, you know, they're looking all around San Antonio. But people say Austin and they're talking about Round Rock, right? They're talking about Liberty Hill. They're talking about Bastrop. So I think that's a big part of it. So those cities don't really compare. We are still that adolescent teenager.
Right. Yeah, because even those numbers, like it's like Ian said, if we're in the city of Austin, like the tiny central, then yes, that's ridiculous. Those prices were real. But if we count Leander, Round Rock, Pflugerville as a part of Austin, then I guarantee those numbers will change.
Which we do. So that's also really important for people to know. If somebody's like, let's say they live in New York and they're looking to relocate here and they look up median prices in Austin, you have to be careful because we have Austin proper prices and then we have Austin Round Rock metropolitan service area. So people see these median prices and they might think it's 400s, but no, it's actually 550 because that's the Austin proper price. So be really cognizant of what you're looking at when you're looking at these numbers and statistics. I love that Mark said San Austonio.
Yes, Mark.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Mark also said, how's the food scene changed? So I'm going to ask Desiree, since you've been here the longest, I think.
How's it changed?
Me and Desiree.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I will say, I mean, we have so much more now. I can't wait for whatever's coming. Right. So it's changed. Obviously, it's Tex-Mex. We had Maudie's, like 5 different places we all would convene and we'd all go and you see the same exact faces everywhere all the time, which was beautiful. But how much more beautiful is it now to like experience so many different people, so much more different culture, more foods? I mean, it's happening. Right.
And it's still a small town. I feel like I've lived in Houston. I've lived in Dallas, and I would never run into anyone. And I mean, there's definitely a community here that pulls us together
for sure. And that's what we were even talking about, Ian. I think too, right? Is like what we were saying about even limiting when like Liberty East Side, right? Like all these communities, as Austin is growing, the vibes are changing. Right. Everybody wanted to be proper central Austin because of a specific life vibe. But because we're growing, we're changing. Right. And so there's really cool community. Like I really love Austin for that. Every neighborhood is very community based or really trying to be community based now because it wasn't 2 years ago. Right. So I think that's really cool.
I really want to shout out Do 512. When I first moved here, I actually started developing an app. I came from, a suburb of Chicago, and I always struggled with what is there to do? Because it was always either like cold or something, and I didn't want to just sit in the house, right? So I needed to get out. And that was part of why I said, I got to get to somewhere that it's vibrant, and Austin was one of those places. And I came here, I was going to develop an app, and then I saw they already had one, and it's this company called Do 512. And if you have not been here, the reason why it's called Do 512 is because that was the original Austin area code. And so they show all sorts of events. It's kind of like a meetup or something, but hyper local. And so if you're looking for or Facebook, you know how they do events and stuff too, but Do 512 is grown in Austin, and they have all sorts of really cool stuff. And they kind of like prioritize local venues and events. Like I saw a scrolling through, well, they were talking about like tastiest grilled cheese sandwiches in Austin. Like that's incredible. Like pay homage to the people that are creating new things, and we keep the Austin that we know and love, and it'll grow into something that's just that amplified.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm going to give a shout out to Do 512 as well, because my best friend, one of them is the COO there. And so you're right. Like, and she's a client and she's amazing. So people who run Do 512 are from Austin. They're born and raised in Austin. They will keep it Austin. Yeah. And they also do virtual, right? They're providing, so during the CV, when it happened, they were one of the only companies that actually not just sustained all of like their employees, but like grew and got creative. So they wouldn't get pushed out, right? From these big, huge company brands coming in. So I think Austin should always be support local.
I like to speak on that too, in regards to big companies coming in. You know, my wife's a teacher, and you know, we talk about the market, and there's a recent New York Times article, how Austin became super expensive out of nowhere, you know, just stuff like that. And she kind of like sighs at it, and she's like, oh my gosh, like what is going on? And I do have to have this chat with her, like, hey, you know, I understand it's happening. Like, it's just one of those forces. And at the same time, we have to be a little bit more economically savvy just to figure it out here. You know, if that's the direction it's going, tech money's here, that's fine. It's not good, it's not bad. It's just the way that the world works and businesses grow. I just think in a city like this, if you want to be central, if you are a teacher and you still want to live around the school that you teach at, it's just one of those things. You have to develop a side hustle and just understand it a little bit. Just like how Desiree was talking about 512 still maintaining.
I think that's the coolest part too, right? About it. Not the coolest part, but it is when you start to think about it in that perspective. It's like you ask yourself, you know, it's uncomfortable. Yeah. But it's and then you challenge, you know, you get creative. It's like, do I want to continue to live central? Then I need to do something a little different, right? Get creative with my business, you know, hire out, delegate, figure that out. If not, what am I comfortable with buying outside? Because it'll still grow. But that's just a personal thing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm with you with that. Yeah.
I wanted to talk about, like, go back to like the actual growth conversation. And when we pull up articles in January, it hit, and then all of a sudden real estate just skyrocketed, right? And then in March and in June, like it's almost like every quarter, these new articles, they recycle their words and they put out information about how Austin is booming, how Austin is growing. There's a new company moving to Austin. And so I just want to show some of the landscape of these things. Some of the landscape of these images. So like when you search for Austin Skyline 2040, because that was a really popular one that came out by KXAN, and you see this, like, look at these images, and they're showing, like, look at this. Uber
so how close do you really want to be?
Reimagined. Yeah, exactly that.
It's like buy your investment property in Lockhart now and rent in the Central, and then once the infrastructure comes, then go there. I don't know.
Has anyone been to Domain lately?
Yes, that's so pretty. I love
and
that.
You've seen the trees here?
Yeah.
You know where that's from?
No.
So when I first saw this, it was in Singapore in 2012.
That's what I was gonna say.
I think it was 2012 or something. And it was like the Singapore super trees. And they have like these giant trees you can walk along, and they're illuminated. And then I remember when I visited Austin and I saw these things there, I was like, uh-oh. I mean, like, uh-oh in a good way. Wow. Like it's almost like if you go somewhere and you see like the model of an Eiffel Tower or something, you're like, oh, okay, blend of culture, eclectic, really cool, kind of embracing future, but art and like all in one. And so that was kind of a draw for me. I just thought it's super cool.
It is super cool. And here's the thing. It's like, it's happening.
It is.
It's not going to stop, right? It is happening. And either you admit it and finally receive it, accept it, and become a part of it, or you're going to sit back and just have that conversation and it's going to go ahead of you. Right.
This is a good point to also remind y'all to reach out to us as your realtors, because you're going to have a place to live. There's going to be a certain money amount, and you got to start strategically understanding what real estate means in this landscape, like more than ever. It's just, I hear it a lot, and it's like, get in front of it. Please get in front of it. Like it's happening. Like you got to do something.
I tried telling my clients, I'm like, listen, they're going to build these types of areas, these like, where you can live and not have to go more than 5 minutes, like Mueller and the Domain and Velocity and Northline and all these places. They're building these in every city outside of Austin. And then they're building a bunch of them in Austin. And so, like you said, JJ, if you can get ahead of that, if that's your thing, and we keep those like localized shops and stores, it's just going to be great. We're going to have a bunch of little like downtown Bastrop's, downtown Georgetown, downtown. It won't have the necessarily have the historic significance, but it can still feel, like that area.
It's going to create itself.
Say it again.
It's going to create itself.
Yeah.
Right. So like
the population.
Yes. And then, I mean, all of these other companies. So it's not just going to be suburbia of houses out there. Right.
Right.
People also are business minded, are going to be, oh, well, if suburbia is going there, where will my cafe succeed? Or I'm going to be living in this area. Why not buy in this area and create a restaurant? And, so it's opportunity as well.
Downtown Georgetown just popped up in my head. I don't know.
I was just going to ask that. I was going to ask what is one of your like hyper growth focused cities when people come and ask and they're like, hey, I want to buy something and I want something that's going to appreciate really quickly. What city do you tell them, or where?
I like to think in concentric circles. So you just go a few circles out from Austin. You might hit this, Pflugerville, Leander ring. That's a good little space.
Lately, I've been really honing in on Dripping Springs and
Dripping Springs. Yeah.
Especially since they're developing that triangle where they just put in the super HEB and they're reconfiguring those highways kind of by Oak Hill and Circle C. I feel like if you could get in over there, that would be great. But honestly, close your eyes, spin a dial, and touch a map, because maybe no matter where you go, it's going to be going up.
Lago Vista, Lakeway, Bastrop.
It depends again what landscape. Here you get to choose. Like, that's a question I ask my people. I'm like, anywhere you put it, but what landscape do you want? You get the option in Austin, Texas to choose your landscape.
I know.
That is so cool.
Yeah. The Texas Hill Country.
Yeah.
Divided
podcast long enough to it's not just Austin. Like we always bounce around. It's not just Austin anymore.
No.
Right.
Honestly, San Antonio.
San Marcos is beautiful. You have green.
Yes.
San Marcos is awesome.
Like Lockhart, Justine's opened Little Trouble inside of Lockhart.
I need to go check that out. Yeah.
You have a lot of local artists moving to Lockhart and really creating mini East Austin, but in a more vibey,
Yeah. Get some land, get your builder out there.
Exactly. Now
we're jumping around a lot. What do y'all think about transportation?
Before we get there, let me just answer these two. I want to say thank you, Mark. Yes, Do 512 is incredible. So thanks for thanking us, right?
Thanks, Mark.
And then also,
is that Mark Hendrick?
Great viewer.
Hochiko says, we just contracted to build in Dripping. So excited. I am happy for you. That's amazing.
That's my fave right now. I love it. There's so much going on over there. It's amazing.
And the water.
And the schools.
JJ, what were you saying about traffic or transportation, or what was it?
We're talking about all these great areas. Do you think some people could bounce around all these great areas? What do you think about transportation in the greater Austin area?
Ooh, I'll go last, or should I go first? I'll go last.
I mean, I definitely have some reservations about traveling west to east. If you're working at Tesla, or if you're, doing that, just try to think about your commute and what's going to make you happy for your lifestyle. or try to convince them to let you go in at 10 a.m. instead of 9 to try to avoid some of that stuff. Transportation, east to west, south to north, it's tough. We got the U line and 620, up there, but that's really all. What's happening with I-35? Does anybody know?
They need to tear it down and start. I'm just kidding. What do you think, JJ?
8 years, Elon Musk is going to have tunnels. Is that a good answer?
That's my answer.
They're already working
What
on
about you, Desiree?
I was like, I think you might say
he's
something
working
like
on
that.
the one to Dallas.
Yeah.
So
I don't think
Other
people
than that,
get
it's
it.
congested. Like,
Right? I don't think people understand that these are problems that are being tackled here in Austin. Obviously, we have a current metro rail. We also have more that were planned as, what was it, Prop B or whatever, right? Like they're going to pass more metro or create more metro lines, 34 or something like that. And that just takes you to the outskirts. And then the cities are going to have to take over and create, more transportation. You'll have buses, you'll have all that sort of stuff. But I'm with JJ on the tunnels, for crying out loud.
Can you
It only
dig
makes
through that
sense.
limestone?
yeah, I was
he
gonna
said
say
it's
we
a
sit
good
on
spot.
limestone.
Yeah, but like, yes,
caves
it sucks
underneath
to
there
dig.
now.
But if you look
They
at
need
these
to
companies,
develop like a little hamster that eats limestone. Put him down.
I mean,
there.
there's a beauty.
you've seen
also.
The Incredibles, right? That's his machine right there. That's the Boring Company machine. The mole man. That's what it is. He's just gonna make it's built for that. It's fine. We'll be all right. A Hardrick says, where would you recommend new Tesla employees to live? 20-minute commute max. I'm going to just quickly answer, throw in my 2 cents. I just signed a contract last night at like 9:30 in Bastrop at the Colony. It is exactly that far away. They're building a man-made lake. There are a lot of Tesla employees moving there and Dell employees because it's a long I-130, and then you head out 71.
That's
so
a really good answer.
It's a great opportunity. Not the only one, though. That's my answer. Who else?
No, I like that one.
I
was
think
going to say
also,
Whisper Valley.
Yeah, Easton Park, Whisper Valley, Manor, Pflugerville.
Southeast Austin.
I think it's going to depend on your budget. And I think, Desiree, you've used this word a few times, like it wasn't climate. What was the word you used?
It was like lifestyle related.
There's so many good ones.
Yeah, like what's your vibe is essentially what you were getting at, right?
Yeah.
Oh, well, totally. Yeah, exactly. What lifestyle, right? Like even, Liberty said, it's like you look at your lifestyle. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
And then you go and zone in on areas that provide you your vibe. Yeah.
Tell me how you feel about this.
Don't sleep on Bastrop because they have some cool stuff over there too.
I thought it was going to come up.
I mean, Bastrop, we were talking about it earlier. Talk about growth and expansion, right? So we were saying, this is our job. Us as agents, we know what's happening to Austin, what's going to happen on a macro level, right? Most people do not because they have other careers. Most people are focused as they need to be to make their own money. So like in Bastrop, we're about to get, it's like a crazy huge 50-acre movie theater studio that is confirmed
just passed
and growing there. So Hollywood is coming. Not that I like that part of it or not. Sorry,
yeah, but to me, that just goes back to the art of it all, right? Like actors are artists.
Yeah, the art's transforming, right? Art doesn't go away; it transforms.
Exactly, everything does or should.
I love this. I love this conversation, but we're getting close to the end of our talk. So, Liberty, parting thoughts. What are your thoughts?
Well, right now I'm thinking about how many celebrities live in Austin.
Oh my gosh, tons! I told you I have this YouTuber client, and she's got she's like, there's a whole community of Twitch streamers and YouTube game streamers that it's a thing here. I was like, oh, I didn't know it was a thing here. They're like, yeah, they're all moving here. I was like, oh my gosh.
Too. Yeah.
What's yours, JJ? Your closing thought?
We talked about it a little bit. Just be aware of it. I understand the sticker shock. I still go through it. It's tough to go through these changes. And at some point, just like growing up, we talked about being an adolescent teenager, kind of finding yourself. You got to choose your identity and say, this is what I want. This is my relationship with Austin and its growth. And these are my strategies to make that happen. Nice. That's the best way I can sum it up.
Desiree.
Yes, my last, if you can dream it, if you could think it, you could have it. just, you got to strategize, right? You got to be real. So if you could dream it with reality, you can have it.
Throw that
that's
goal
good.
out there and then work it back and then do it every
Totally.
single day.
Yeah.
I love that. That's actually a good segue into my mention. I think I'm going to say Austin, there was a kind of a joke that it was Silicon Hills for a while. And I look at it like that's not a joke. Like if you're into Web 3.0 and you're into like future, thinking about the future, thinking about growth, Austin is absolutely one of those communities. And if that sounds exciting to you, plus having the mix of nature and art and soul and culture, it's a good spot.
Come
Happy to
on
have you here.
down.
And
Keeping
give us
Austin
a
weird,
call.
y'all. Keeping
Yeah,
it
you
weird.
have really great agents, you know, right in front of you to help you and move fast, right? That's why you really need an agent as well, because our market moves so fast.
It
You
does.
need to have the best locking you in. Like
I don't know who Raven Elise is, but my guess is it's a celebrity. And so the reason why I want to mention that is, as we're parting, I want to say, if you know any other celebrities, to answer Liberty's question, if you know any other celebrities that have moved here or love living here,
That's
let us
another
know. I'm just
YouTube
curious.
person.
Like, we're not going to go stalk them or anything, but we want to know. And
Or
with that,
will we?
have yourselves a wonderful, wonderful day, and we'll see you next week.
And a beautiful
Thanks,
weekend.
Desiree.
Thanks
Bye,
for
guys.
tuning
It's a
in.
pleasure. Bye.